What if the most dominant Formula One team right now is already heading toward its biggest problem? I'm talking about Red Bull. The same team that made winning look easy. The same team that crushed the competition race after race. But here's the twist: 2026 could flip everything. And not because Red Bull suddenly became slow, but because of one hidden weakness that could completely change their future. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why Red Bull F1 weakness 2026 might be the biggest story in Formula One. The 2026 rule change that changes everything. Let's start with the big picture. Formula One in 2026 isn't just evolving, it's resetting. We're getting brand new power units, different energy systems, and a completely new balance between engine and aerodynamics. And history tells us something very important. Every time F1 resets, dominance resets. Think about it. Red Bull themselves rose to power after major regulation changes. Mercedes dominated the hybrid era from 2014. So now the question is simple. Will Red Bull stay on top or fall into the same trap other dominant teams did? Because this is where Red Bull F1 problems begin. The engine gamble that could backfire. Now let's talk about the biggest risk: Red Bull's engine. For years, Red Bull worked with Honda. That partnership was smooth, reliable, and incredibly fast. But in 2026, they're building their own engine. Yes, with Ford support, but still, it's a massive shift. And here's the reality. Building a competitive F1 engine is one of the hardest things in motorsport. This isn't like improving aerodynamics or tweaking setup. This is deep engineering: efficiency, reliability, energy recovery, thermal management. Teams like Mercedes have been doing this for decades. Red Bull? They're still relatively new. And this is exactly why Red Bull 2026 car issues could start from the power unit itself. Hybrid power, the silent advantage. Now here's something most casual fans don't realize. In 2026, electrical power becomes huge. We're talking about nearly half of the car's total performance coming from hybrid systems. That means energy recovery, battery deployment, and efficiency are no longer extras, they're everything. And this is where things get interesting. Mercedes has historically dominated hybrid technology. Ferrari has massive experience. Even new teams like Audi are entering with strong engineering backgrounds. Red Bull? They're catching up. But catching up in Formula One is dangerous because everyone else is still moving forward. And this gap could define the Red Bull performance analysis for 2026. Aerodynamics alone won't save them. Let's be clear, Red Bull still has one of the greatest strengths in F1. Aerodynamics. Adrian Newey is a genius. Their car design is almost always ahead of the curve. But here's the problem. In 2026, aerodynamics might not be enough. If your engine isn't delivering power efficiently, you lose time on straights. If your energy deployment isn't optimized, you lose positions in battles. So even if Red Bull builds a beautiful, fast car, it could still be beaten by a team with a stronger power unit. And that's a completely different challenge than what they're used to. Max Verstappen's limits. Now let's talk about the obvious question. What about Max Verstappen? He's one of the greatest drivers we've ever seen. He can extract performance from any car. He can outperform rivals under pressure. But here's the truth most fans ignore. Even Max has limits. If the car lacks power, if it struggles with energy deployment, if it's unreliable, there's only so much he can do. We've seen this before in F1 history. Great drivers stuck in slightly weaker cars and suddenly they're not winning everything. So while Max Verstappen 2026 season will still be strong, he might not be able to carry Red Bull the same way if their weaknesses grow. Rivals smell opportunity. Now this is where things get dangerous for Red Bull. Their rivals are not standing still. Mercedes is rebuilding, focusing heavily on hybrid systems. Ferrari is improving consistency and reliability. And new players like Audi are entering with massive investment and fresh ideas. This is not the same grid Red Bull dominated before. This is a grid preparing for a new era. And here's the scary part for Red Bull fans. They don't need Red Bull to collapse. They just need to close the gap. Because once the gap is gone, everything changes. Strategy becomes more important than ever. When you're the fastest team, strategy mistakes don't hurt as much. You can recover. You can still win. But in a close field, every decision matters. Pit stops, tire choices, energy management. One mistake and you're losing positions instantly. And Red Bull strategy mistakes, small ones we've seen before, could become much more costly. Especially if their car isn't clearly dominant anymore. Pressure can break dominance. Here's something people underestimate: pressure. When you're winning, everything feels easier. But when the field tightens, pressure builds. Mistakes happen. Decisions become harder. And suddenly, that dominant team starts to look human. For Red Bull, 2026 might be the first time in years where they're truly challenged again. And how they respond to that pressure could define their future. Is this the end of Red Bull dominance? So, is Red Bull finished? No. They're still one of the smartest, most capable teams in Formula One. But dominance? That's different. Because dominance requires perfection. And in 2026, perfection becomes harder than ever. New engines, new systems, stronger rivals. And one key weakness: experience in this new era. The real weakness nobody talks about. So let's bring it all together. Red Bull F1 weakness 2026 isn't just one issue. It's a combination of factors. A new engine project with limited experience. A hybrid system battle against more established rivals. A shift in regulations that reduce their aerodynamic advantage. And a grid that's finally catching up. Individually, these aren't fatal. But together, they could be enough to stop Red Bull from dominating. And that brings us back to the question we started with. Is Red Bull really untouchable? Or are we about to see the beginning of a new Formula One era? Because that hidden weakness we talked about, it's not just a small flaw. It's a shift in the entire balance of power. If this opened your eyes to what's coming in 2026, then you'll definitely want to watch the next video where I break down which team is most likely to take over the grid. And if you love smart F1 breakdowns like this, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.